Every family has memories captured in photographs. Smiles. Birthdays. Vacations. But what if one day, you notice something strange? A person in the photo, who was never there before. A stranger. Smiling. Standing right beside you. And the scariest part? No one in your family questions it. Because suddenly, they all remember him. This is the terrifying story of the son, who was never in the family photo until he was. It was a normal Sunday evening. The Johnson family sat together in the living room, flipping through their old family photo album. The warm yellow light of the lamp made the room feel cozy, and everyone was laughing as they remembered old birthdays and family trips. But then something strange caught young Ethan's eyes. He leaned closer to one picture and frowned. "Mom, Dad, look at this," he said softly. The photo was supposed to show the whole family. His father, his mother, his older sister Emily, and Ethan himself. 4 people. Always 4. But in this picture, something was wrong. Right in the middle of the family group, there was a big, empty space. It wasn't blurry. It wasn't a bad angle. It looked like someone had been cut out, or erased. Ethan's mother laughed nervously. "Maybe the camera glitched," she said, trying to turn the page quickly. But Ethan didn't let go. "No, Mom. Look, it's not just this one." He pulled out 3 more photos. Each time, there was the same strange empty space. Like someone was missing. Like someone should have been standing there. The father's smile faded. His hand shook as he looked at the photo. For a moment, his eyes filled with something Ethan had never seen before, fear. But then, just as quickly, his father forced a laugh. "It's nothing. Just old pictures. Don't think too much about it." He closed the album with a heavy sound, as if ending the discussion. Yet that night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the empty space in those photos. Why did it look so perfectly shaped? Like the outline of a person? Who was supposed to be there? And the scariest question of all, why did it feel like someone was missing from the family? Someone he should have remembered. That night, the house was silent. The Johnson family had gone to bed, and only the sound of the old clock ticking in the hallway filled the darkness. Ethan lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling. He couldn't stop thinking about those photos. The empty space. The strange outline. It was stuck in his mind like a shadow he couldn't shake away. He turned to his desk. The photo album was still there, lying closed, but somehow, it felt like it was waiting for him. Watching him. Suddenly, a soft flip broke the silence. Ethan froze. The sound came again, flip, flip, flip. The pages of the album were moving on their own. His heart began to pound. He sat up slowly, his eyes fixed on the album. The pages stopped moving, and the book lay open. Ethan climbed out of bed, his feet cold against the wooden floor. He stepped closer. That's when he heard it. A whisper. At first, it was so soft he thought it was the wind. But then it grew clearer, sharper, almost right next to his ear. "Do you remember me?" Ethan jumped back, his chest tight with fear. "No, who's there?" he whispered back, his voice shaking. But the room was empty. The photo album trembled, its pages rattling as if an invisible hand was touching it. The open page showed the same family picture with the empty space. Only this time, Ethan swore he could see the faintest shape of a shoulder, a blurry outline of a head. The whisper came again, this time stronger. "You forgot me." Ethan slammed the album shut, his hands shaking. He pushed it away, but the sound of the whisper still echoed in his ears. And for the first time in his life, Ethan felt like someone was in the room with him. Someone who was not supposed to be there. The next morning, the sun filled the house with light. Everything seemed normal again, almost too normal. Ethan tried to convince himself it was just a dream, just his imagination. At breakfast, his mother noticed the photo album still lying on the table. She frowned, wiping her hands on a towel, and picked it up. She opened the same page. The same photo. At first, she sighed with relief. The empty space looked the same as before. Just a gap. Nothing more. But then her eyes widened. There was something there. A faint, shadowy outline. Like a figure slowly forming in the photo. It wasn't clear, just the shape of a face, the curve of a shoulder. As if someone half-faded was trying to push through the paper. Her hands trembled. "Ethan, did you draw this?" she asked, her voice uneven. Ethan shook his head quickly. "No. It was like that last night." The mother shut the book hard, almost as if she was afraid of letting the figure grow any clearer. "It's just the light," she whispered. "Just shadows." But as she turned to put the album away on the shelf, her reflection in the glass cabinet caught her eye. For a split second she saw him, a pale figure, standing right between her and her children, smiling faintly. She gasped, spinning around. No one was there. Only Ethan, staring at her, confused. Her face turned pale. She forced a smile and said nothing. But inside, she knew what she had seen. Later that day, when she walked through the hallway, she paused in front of the framed family pictures. Her heart skipped a beat, because in the reflection of the glass, she thought she saw it again. The missing figure. Watching. Waiting. As if he was already part of the family. That night the house felt different. The air was heavy, almost too quiet, as if the walls themselves were listening. Ethan couldn't sleep. Again. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined that empty space in the photos. So he decided to get a glass of water from the kitchen. The hallway was dark, only lit by the faint glow of the moon through the windows. The floor creaked under his feet as he walked slowly, trying not to wake anyone. But then he stopped. Something caught his eye. On the wall of the hallway, framed family pictures hung in neat rows. Smiling faces. Vacations. Birthdays. Memories. Ethan leaned closer to one of them, the same family photo he had seen in the album. But this time it wasn't empty. There was someone in it. A figure. Tall. Pale. Standing right beside his sister, as if he belonged there all along. Ethan's chest tightened. He rubbed his eyes, thinking he was seeing wrong. But when he looked again, the figure was still there. He stepped back quickly, almost tripping over his own feet. His breath came fast and his hands shook. "Mom. Dad," he whispered, but no one answered. The shadows in the hallway seemed to grow longer, darker. And then, out of the corner of his eye, Ethan saw movement. He turned his head slowly. At the very end of the hallway, someone was standing. The same pale figure from the photo. Not moving. Not speaking. Just watching him. Ethan's throat went dry. His body froze. The figure tilted its head, almost like it was studying him. And then, in the blink of an eye, it was gone. Ethan stumbled back into his room, slammed the door shut, and hid under his blanket like a little child. But he knew what he saw was real. The missing family member was no longer trapped in the photo. He was walking the halls of their home. The next morning, Ethan finally told his family what he had seen. His hands shook as he spoke. His voice cracked with fear. "There was someone in the hallway last night," he whispered. "He was standing there. The same man from the photo." His sister Emily rolled her eyes. "You're just scaring yourself, Ethan. It's all in your head." But Ethan turned to his parents. "I swear he was real. He was there looking at me." For a long moment, his father didn't say anything. He just stared at Ethan, his face pale, his jaw tight. It almost looked like he believed him. Finally, his father slammed his hand down on the table. "Enough," he shouted. His voice was louder than Ethan had ever heard before. "There is no one else in this family. Do you understand me? We've always been four. Just four." The room went silent. Ethan stared at his dad, confused. Why did he sound so angry? Why did his voice shake, almost like he was hiding something? His mother placed a gentle hand on her husband's arm. "Please," she whispered. "You're scaring the children." But his father wouldn't calm down. He stood up and grabbed the photo album from the shelf. "Pictures lie. Memories lie. This," he said, holding up the book, "is nothing but old paper. Don't let it poison your mind." He threw the album back onto the shelf with a heavy thud. "Forget it. There is no missing family member. There never was." Ethan's stomach sank. His father's denial only made it worse, because deep down he could see the truth in his father's eyes. The fear. The hesitation. It wasn't just Ethan who had seen something. His father knew more than he was saying. And that terrified Ethan even more than the ghost itself. That evening, the Johnson family sat down for dinner. The table was neatly set. 4 plates, 4 glasses, 4 sets of silverware. Just like always. Ethan sat quietly, pushing food around on his plate. He kept glancing at his dad, who avoided his eyes. The tension in the room was thick, like everyone was pretending nothing was wrong. Then it happened. Clatter. The sharp sound of a plate hitting the table made everyone jump. Ethan's eyes widened. Right in front of the empty chair at the end of the table sat a 5th plate. No one had put it there. No one had moved. But the plate was there. Perfectly set. A glass of water. A fork and knife. As if waiting for someone to sit down. Emily gasped. "Mom, did you?" Her mother shook her head quickly. Her hands were trembling so badly she almost dropped her fork. I didn't do it." Ethan whispered. "It's his. He wants to eat with us." His father's face went pale. He stood up so fast his chair nearly fell over. "This is nonsense," he barked, but his voice cracked halfway through. He grabbed the plate, but the moment his hands touched it, the water glass tipped over by itself, spilling across the table. Everyone screamed and pulled back as the water spread like icy fingers toward them. The room grew cold. So cold their breaths turned to fog. And then faintly they heard it. A chair scraping across the floor. The empty chair at the end of the table. It moved back. Slowly. As if someone unseen was pulling it out to sit down. Ethan clutched his mother's arm. Emily's eyes filled with tears. But his father stood frozen, staring at the chair, his lips pressed tight. He didn't speak, because deep down he already knew who that seat was meant for. The next day, Ethan's father tried to act normal. He told everyone, "We're going to take a new family photo. That's it. We'll prove nothing is wrong." His voice was firm, but his hands shook as he set up the camera in the living room. The family gathered together on the couch. Ethan sat nervously, his sister Emily frowning beside him. Their mother forced a smile, but her eyes kept darting to the empty space between them. "Ready," the father said. He set the timer, rushed to sit with his family, and the camera clicked. The photo printed out within seconds. Ethan leaned in first, and his stomach dropped. There he was, the pale young man, standing with them, right in the middle of the family. He wasn't blurry anymore. He wasn't a shadow. He looked solid, real. His skin was ghostly pale, his eyes dark and deep. And he was smiling, smiling like he belonged there all along. Emily screamed, "No, he's not supposed to be there." Their mother covered her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. But the father just stared at the photo in silence. His lips trembled. His eyes watered, as if he knew this face. Ethan's voice cracked. "Dad, who is he? Why is he in our photo?" The father didn't answer. He only looked away, gripping the picture so tightly his knuckles turned white. Finally he whispered, almost too soft to hear, He shouldn't be here." But the truth was already clear. No matter how much they denied it, the missing family member was no longer missing. He was back. And now, he was a part of every memory they tried to create. The Johnson family sat in silence, staring at the photo on the table. The pale young man stood between them, smiling like he belonged. No one dared touch the picture again. Then suddenly, their mother began to cry. At first, it was soft, just a few tears sliding down her face. But then her body shook, and she covered her mouth as sobs poured out. Everyone stared at her in shock. "Mom, what's wrong?" Emily asked. Their mother's voice cracked. I remember him." The room froze. Ethan's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Her hands trembled as she reached for the photo. She ran her fingers over the pale figure's face. "He's my son, my other son. I held him when he was a baby. I remember his laugh, his smell, his first steps." Her words sent shivers down Ethan's spine. Another son? Another brother? Why had no one ever spoken about him before? The father stood up quickly, slamming his hands on the table. "Stop it," he shouted. His face was red, his voice shaking. "You're just confused. There was never another child." But his wife shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "No. I know his name. His name was Daniel." The moment she said it, Ethan felt something shift in his mind. A memory. A blurry image of another boy, laughing and running in the backyard. It was faint, like a dream, but it was there. Emily gasped. I think I remember too." She held her head as if it hurt to recall. The father's eyes darkened. "Forget it. Do you hear me? Forget him." But the truth had already broken through. The family hadn't just seen a ghost. They were starting to remember him. A son. A brother. A part of their family, erased from their lives. Until now. That night, the Johnson house was heavy with silence. No one spoke after dinner. No one dared mention the name their mother had spoken, Daniel. But deep inside they all felt it. Something had changed. Memories were returning, slowly, painfully, like puzzle pieces forcing themselves back into place. Ethan lay awake, his heart racing. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Daniel's face from the photo. Pale, smiling, watching. Then he heard it. The floor creaking in the hallway. He sat up, his breath caught in his throat. The sound grew closer, step by step, until it stopped right outside his bedroom door. Ethan held his breath. The door creaked open, slowly, and there he was. Daniel. Not a shadow, not a blur, but fully visible now, standing in the hallway. His skin was pale as moonlight, his eyes dark and hollow. His smile stretched too wide, showing teeth that didn't look human anymore. Ethan wanted to scream, but no sound came out. His whole body was frozen. Daniel tilted his head, just like he had in the photo. And then he whispered, "I was always here." Ethan's chest tightened. His voice finally broke through. Why are you here? What do you want? Daniel took one slow step closer. His whisper grew sharper, echoing in the hallway. You chose to forget me, but I never forgot you. Behind Ethan, Emily stirred awake. She saw him too. Her scream filled the house. Their mother rushed into the hallway, gasping when she saw the pale figure of her lost son. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, Daniel. But Daniel didn't look at her. His dark eyes stayed locked on Ethan. His smile never faded, because this wasn't just about being remembered. This was about coming back. The next morning, the house was silent. The Johnson family sat together at the kitchen table, their eyes red from a night of fear. No one spoke about what they had seen. No one dared say his name again. But on the table, the family photo album was open. No one remembered putting it there. Slowly, Ethan reached out with trembling hands. He turned the pages, one by one, and what he saw made his blood run cold. The photos had changed. All of them. The empty spaces were gone. The blurry outlines were gone. In every single picture, Daniel was there, standing with them at birthdays, sitting with them at Christmas, laughing in the backyard. It was as if he had always been part of every memory. Emily gasped. No, this isn't real. But the proof was right in front of them. Their mother collapsed into a chair, tears pouring down her face. I told you he's our son. He's always been here. Ethan flipped to the very last page. A brand new photo sat there, one they had never taken. It showed the Johnson family standing in front of their house. 5 members, smiling. And right in the middle was Daniel, clear as day, holding Ethan's shoulder with a hand that looked too pale, too cold. His smile was wider than ever. Ethan dropped the book, his heart racing. How is this possible? He whispered. The father finally spoke, his voice low and broken. Because some memories never die, even when you try to erase them. The photo album slammed shut on its own. The lights flickered. And for a split second, they all felt a fifth presence standing behind them. The Johnson family was no longer 4. They were 5 again. Forever. Some ghosts don't just haunt your home. They haunt your memories. The Johnsons tried to forget their son, but Daniel never forgot them. Now every picture tells a story, and every story has someone watching from the shadows. So next time you look at an old family photo, count carefully, because if there's one more person smiling back at you, it may already be too late.